Hey there, CrossFit Spring Hill. This week is the CrossFit Games in Madison, Wisconsin. The top 40 men, women, teams, adaptive athletes, teenagers, masters athletes are gathering in Madison to crown the fittest on earth in each of those respective categories. And it just got me thinking about competition and being competitive in the gym and how what they do can transfer to what we do here in our local affiliate. Some ways it's the same, some ways it's different. They're competing to literally be crowned the fittest on earth, so they're competing against one another. They want to beat the person next to them. That is the number one motivating factor to be crowned the fittest on earth. They're also trying to pay their mortgages doing that, which is why they dedicate so much time and energy to training multiple times a day, 6 to 8 hours a day. It's crazy. It's different than what we do here, but at the same time, similar. It's cool to see what the tip of the spear, what the ultimate expression of CrossFit looks like when you apply the outermost extremes of what a human being is capable of doing to the CrossFit methodology. So I just have 5 ways that you can use competition, I think, in a healthy, constructive, productive way in the local affiliate here, CrossFit Spring Hill, or if you're at another gym, for motivation, to make you fitter. And actually, one isn't even one of those 5, and that would be actually being competitive with other people in the gym. There is a place for that, and I'm really proud of the culture we have here at CrossFit Spring Hill, where there's space for that and we can enjoy that, but nobody's ego gets bruised. There's not kind of that toxic culture that can happen when competition is like the utmost thing. It's something that, sometimes I'll look at scores on the board and, hey, I want to try to beat Austin today, or which rarely happens, by the way, or somebody else, whatever. You look at somebody who that it's pretty close to them, usually on workouts, and it's like, hey, I'm going to try to do the weight they did and do it a little bit faster. That kind of competition, sometimes we call it competitiveness. One of our former members, Josh Vogel, who moved away, coined that term, which I think is hilarious. So I'm proud of that culture we have here, that is a part, I think, that can be motivating, but it's not taken to the extreme where people are just jerks. You guys are mature, so good on you. So that would be one way, comparing yourself to someone else. Like, there is definitely a place for that, and it's fun to do. The 5 tips I have are more for being competitive with yourself. Comparing to what you did last month, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. And there's more ways to do that than you might think. So in order here, well, it's not in any particular order necessarily, and it's not exhaustive either. There's probably more ways than this. If you have any thoughts or ideas or feedback, let me know. So not in any particular order, but sort of. This first one kind of is. So number 1, you can be competitive with yourself with technique and range of motion. So I put this one first on purpose because the CrossFit charter for how to approach your training is mechanics, consistency, then and only then intensity. So can you perform the movements with proper mechanics? So they're good technique, safe movement, and then consistency. Can you perform the movement properly over a repeated number of reps? And then and only then intensity. So once you have that down, where your air squat, you're hitting those points of performance every time, heels down, neutral spine, hips back, knees out, full range of motion, you're hitting that every time, then you start to add speed to it, intensity. And that's where you can really dial up the results you're getting from your fitness as well. But the mechanics and the consistent mechanics have to come first. So you can be competitive with yourself in this. And what I mean is, looking at just take an air squat, for example. Maybe 6 months ago when you started, you could barely get below parallel and your torso was all caved forward and you had a hard time maintaining a neutral spine. And 6 months later, you're squatting below parallel, clearly below parallel, deeper than you were when you started. You're keeping your torso more upright. Your spine is in a better upright, neutral position. That is a way you can be competitive with yourself. And sometimes that actually means that you're gonna have a slower time or less weight on a workout, but you're moving better. And I still do that now, I don't know, 6, 7 years into CrossFit, whatever, where I'll keep going back to the basics. And this is something else that CrossFit encourages. This isn't something unique to me, but continuing to go back to the basics and mastering the basics. Virtuosity is what Greg Glassman would refer to it as. Mastering the basics, doing the common uncommonly well. So push-ups are in the workout tomorrow. I'm recording this on Sunday, the 31st, July 31st. Push-ups are in the workout tomorrow. Push-ups could be something where you just write it off as like, well, we've been doing those forever. I've done them forever. I'm not really thinking about technique anymore. I'm just trying to go fast. But I've actually been competitive with myself with my technique on push-ups, making sure that I'm maintaining a rigid midline, that I am truly hitting full depth, chest touching the ground, full elbow lockout, not just like, barely questionable, am I there or not? And does that slow me down compared to if I lost my midline and kind of pushed my chest up off the floor a little bit first before my hips come up? Could I go faster doing that? Yes, I could. But would it be as beneficial for my fitness? No. So I'll be competitive with myself on stuff like that, or my squat technique. I'll intentionally go slower to make sure I'm hitting full range of motion and increasing my range of motion even, and knowing that that's going to slow me down, but it's more beneficial in the long run. Anyway, so be competitive with yourself, with your technique. Always be trying to improve your range of motion, some of those more neurological components of fitness, your accuracy, agility, coordination, things like that. So that's number one. That was long because I think it's really important. Number 2 and number 3 are the ones you probably think of, which is loading weight. So that's simple. Were you able to lift more weight than you did last time? Speed, if you're repeating a workout that you've done before, were you able to do it faster? And those are 2 things you can be competitive with yourself on for sure. If you don't beat a previous speed or a previous weight, does that mean you're not getting fitter? No, but that's a topic for another time. Number 4, something else you can be competitive with. This is another one you might not think of very often, strategy. So I do this as well, where on a workout where, let's say, like, take Fran, for example, 21, 15, 9 thrusters and pull-ups. Well, most of the time, I don't know, I've done that workout a lot. I've done it where I'll do the first 21 thrusters in 3 sets and in 2 sets. I did it unbroken once. It was the first time I did Fran. I did 21 thrusters unbroken, and it was a giant mistake. A lot of people probably have a Fran story like that, where the first time you do it, you think you can fly through it, and then you die in that round of 15. But anyway, so in a workout like that, I might be competitive with myself and look at the last time I did it and say, okay, the last couple times I've done this, I've done those 21 thrusters in 3 sets. Well, this time I'm going to do it in 2 sets, even if it means I have a slower time in the workout because I have to rest more in order to do that. Or maybe next time we do it, I will try to do it unbroken, just to test myself, just to be competitive with myself. Hey, I did this unbroken when I first started and I died. I'm going to see if I can do it this time, even if it means I have to rest a little more before the pull-ups or before the next set of thrusters, and I'll be competitive with myself in that way. So that's one way that, bigger sets or trying to go unbroken, even if it means you have to rest more and you're going to have a slower time in the workout. Another way would, kind of the opposite into that spectrum, would be less rest. So resting less than you typically do. So this one's you have to know yourself well for this one, but let's take Fran again. On those first set of 21 thrusters, I think the most often I've done like 11 and 10. And let's just say I typically do 11 thrusters and rest for 10 seconds and then pick up the barbell and do 10 thrusters. Well, maybe this time I'm going to do 11 thrusters, put it down, 1 big breath, pick up the barbell right away. No matter how I feel, I'm just going to do it and compete with myself in that way. Can I take less rest than I usually do? Or can I jump right on that pull-up bar immediately after my 21st thruster rather than, walking to the drop bucket, taking a couple big breaths, just things like that. So strategy in a workout and how you approach rest, rep ranges, things like that, you can compete with yourself on that. And then finally, this is something else I've done, which is specific movements, tackling weaknesses. Like, I get competitive with myself about, I don't love running. It's a weakness of mine. But the last year or so, I've just told myself every time there's running in a workout, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to run harder than I want to. Generally speaking, I'm going to run harder than I want to. And I can look back at previous workouts and go, okay, I know I didn't run that hard last time I did it. I ran harder this time. Maybe it made my other movements a little slower, but I know my running capacity is increasing. And I'll be competitive with myself about stuff like that. Or it could be, I'm going to attempt a new movement that I've never done in a workout. Like, maybe you've been working on double unders and you're really getting close, and you're at that point where it's like single, double. Sometimes you'll string a few together. Maybe you just start double under workouts. You're like, I'm just only going to do double unders no matter what. I'm either going to do it until I hit the reps, or I'm going to do a time bound, like double unders for 1 minute, as many as I can get. That's a good one to do too, with like trying to string together toes to bar or pull-ups or something like that. So those are just some different ways you can be competitive with yourself that aren't necessarily being competitive with other people, and also aren't necessarily more weight or faster, which I included those two because those are super important and you can use those metrics as well. But there's more than that. You can be competitive with your technique, your range of motion, your strategy, resting more or less, bigger sets, tackling weaknesses, movements you don't like. Those are all ways you can be competitive with yourself. So I hope that's helpful. Just wanted to chat about that, some things that have been helpful for me. If you have any thoughts or input about that, I would love to hear it. It's not exhaustive or comprehensive, but some thoughts I had about being competitive. Okay, talk to you guys soon.